Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Dave C's G.I. Joe commentary. This week we're going to be talking about a little bit of a different topic. It's the likeness of G.I. Joe. Likeness meaning how some of the figures were actually sculpted. Their faces were sculpted onto the figures from 82 to 89. The first one we're going to talk about is Ron Rudat, who was the head of research and development from 1982 to 1987, and he was responsible for creating all the figures from 1982 till 1987, and worked on some vehicles as well, including the Cobra Claw, the Cobra Snake Armor, both 1983 projects, and arguably Cobra's best sea boat, the Cobra Hydrofoil from 1985. And yeah, his dad was a Marine in World War II, so he was quite proud of that, and he was important in this job because he knew a lot about the military, and he was given access to being able to see the latest and greatest in the United States Army, from the latest small arms to prototype vehicles and weapons that were being made available in 1982. So anyway, a lot of these designs were based on that type of stuff, like prototypes, and as well as current weapons. Ron was responsible for creating all the patches too for the figures, like all the military insignia that would be on their arms and different spots, and as well as vehicle insignias. Some of the more famous ones would be the Sky Striker, the G.I. Joe Sky Striker insignia. He also worked on, aside from the figures, some of the designing for vehicles too, like the 83 Snake Armor, Cobra Snake Armor, the Cobra Claw, and the Cobra Hydrofoil, which is probably known as one of the best Cobra boats. But yeah, anyway, some of his more famous patches that would be recognized are Gung Ho's chest, the Marine, Lady Jaye's arm patch, if you can see it there, pretty cool, Heavy Metal's chest patch, Gung Ho's patches, 87 Gung Ho, 83 Airborne on his arm, and then his Footloose in the back. There's a patch on his arm that's pretty cool. And then Ron actually designed the Cobra logo itself and presented it to the executive team, and they agreed that it was a great logo for Cobra in 1982. And he still has that original artwork up on his wall. And but yeah, here's all the Cobra guys that have some logos in different places, usually on their arm or on their chest, which I always thought was awesome, because it just reminds me of the old World War II type stuff, which actually made it more real than science fiction. Yeah, he was probably responsible for, I don't know how many logos and drawings for patches and figures and vehicles. Probably like 80 to 100, like, or something. He mentioned on 3djoes.com that the favorite vehicle that he helped to produce is the 1985 Cobra Moray Eel, the hydrofoil. And here it is here, and you can see probably why he likes it best. It's actually a pretty sleek boat, and there's the Cobra logo on the side that he designed. And pretty awesome. And I actually bought a mini poster of one of my favorite Cobra logos, and one of my son's favorites too. He has the same poster up in his room on his wall. Is for this guy, which is the Crimson Guardsman, 1985, the elite trooper for Cobra. And there's the mini poster there. But yeah, Ron worked on so many patches, and designed so many things, and worked on not just patches. I don't know why I keep talking about patches, because the actual figures themselves are amazing. But anyway, back to the head sculpts. This one here is Leatherneck, 1986 Leatherneck, and it was made in his likeness. Like I said earlier, his father was a Marine in World War II, so he was really proud of that, and yeah, so I guess they decided to let him have a face, or he decided himself probably. And there it is there. And then for Dusty, on the back, on his file card, it actually has Ron's name. It says Ronald Tador, which is Rudat spelt backwards. So I'm going to flip this thing over, and we can have a look at that. 1985 Dusty here. But yeah, you can see here, file name, Ronald W. Tador. Another person from the GI.JOE 1980s R&D team who had a head sculpt manufactured after his likeness is Guy Cassidy, who actually has the face of 1986 Cross Country, the 1986 Havoc driver. And that's him there. And Guy also designed Cross Country's tank, which was the Havoc. And there it is there, 1986. And Cassidy was actually responsible for a lot of different more futuristic G.I. Joe vehicles, including the Mobile Command Center, 1987, the big base, which is here's a look at it here, which is quite an intricate design with several different pieces and really elaborate sculpting. Here it is over here as well, in real life form. And one of my favorites that he worked on is the 1988 Rolling Thunder. I didn't have it as a kid, but I saw it in the catalog that year, and it was definitely the biggest vehicle that you could get. And whenever I look at this thing, I actually think of considering it being a grail, because it's well, I don't know any other G.I. Joe vehicles that have two nukes on them, but this thing actually has two nuclear weapons. So, and it's just a massive vehicle, and I don't think one can really appreciate it until you actually see it in person. And but anyway, he designed this one, and I would think that he'd be very proud about this one. Definitely one of my favorites. Aside from the G.I. Joe research and development team in the 80s, there's also some 1980s pop culture influence as well, as far as file cards and different development went. You're looking at a guy now who was actually on his file card named after Stephen King's son. And how the story goes for that is, this character here is Sneak Peek, 1987 Sneak Peek, and keeps going out of focus. So maybe I'll just grab him down here, put him someplace where maybe where he stays in focus a bit. Hopefully. Still not in focus. Yeah, anyway, so there he is there. And it turns out that Stephen King's son had a lot of interest in G.I. Joe. He was born in 1977, so he was right in the wheelhouse there, target age group for liking all the Joe stuff, just like me. And but anyway, he liked G.I. Joe so much that his dad actually took up stakes in G.I. Joe, Hasbro, and asked if a character could be named after his son. So I guess the executives agreed that this figure here, Sneak Peek, he would be, on his file card, it would say Stephen King's son, which is Owen King. So if you happen to ever look at Sneak Peek's file card, that's why the name is Owen King, because that's Stephen King's son. And then the other part to that story is that, sit down here, is that this figure here, Stephen King was actually then asked to do a file card for a figure that R&D wanted to develop. This was in 1987, and so the file card was actually written by Stephen King, and this is Crystal Ball, whose likeness, if you look at it up here, is Vincent Price, the famous horror actor from all the movies. So kind of an interesting fact there that maybe not a lot of people know about. And this guy was kind of a creepy hypnotist for Cobra. And he wasn't on the cartoon or in the G.I. Joe movie. And he didn't appear in the comic really, just in special missions once. I think in 87 or 88. But in the latest IDW issues, he's involved. But anyway, so that's him there. And the dossier or file card, as Larry Hama calls them, it was one of the rare ones that wasn't written by Larry Hama. It was actually written by Stephen King. So that's an interesting little tidbit. Another pop culture, or in this case athletics, celebrity made in a likeness is the 1985 or 86. I think it's 1986 actually. I did some more research on that. But yeah, the Fridge, Mail Away, 1986. And of course, he was the Super Bowl winner that year with the Chicago Bears. He scored a touchdown. Famous defensive lineman who got the touchdown in the Super Bowl. So they made a character in his likeness. And then next to him is someone that pretty much every Joe fan knows, that got a likeness made of him, because the likeness was actually himself. And that's Sergeant Slaughter. That's the 1985 Mail Away version. And back here we have the 1986 version of the Sarge. Yeah, he was really embraced by Hasbro because of his positivity when he went in for his sculpting. Like, he got the photographs taken and everything, and so they could do the sculpts. And I read that Hasbro was actually blown away by how positive he was and how much he wanted to be involved with G.I. Joe. Maybe more so than William Perry, that kind of, didn't really want to have much to do with it. He wasn't really an actor. Well, he wasn't an actor at all. He was a pro football player. So, and not that the Sarge was an actor, but everyone knows that wrestling is a little bit more acting than other things. So, but yeah, so there's his likeness. And I also read that Hasbro was actually seeking a contract with Sylvester Stallone so that they could use Rocky, the character Rocky, for a figure. And another way that I found out about that was that in Larry Hama's Order of Battle, it alphabetically lists all the Joes and Cobras and all the vehicles and that. But the particular issue where they had all the Joes, under E or under R was Rocky, and it had a drawing of Rocky Balboa. And at that time, Rocky was huge, right? Like Rocky 4 had just come out, or around that time when he fights the Russian guy. So everybody knew Rocky and Rambo. So, but anyway, I guess they had to retract that drawing because they actually didn't get the rights to Rocky. Something to do with, I think, Rambo and with that toy company, that they weren't allowed to do it. But so Rocky never got made. And I just remembered too reading that Ron Rudat said that he wanted to do a Ronald Reagan figure, which at that time was the president of the United States. And he thought it would be cool that, you know, you could have a figure that maybe Cobra would try to kidnap, or, you know, and so you could have the president. And I think that's pretty cool. That would have been awesome. But I guess the Hasbro execs, they didn't want to go with that one. In 1987, the figure Law and Order was released. And Order was Law's dog. There he is down there at the bottom. And I guess a guard, attack dog. And Law was a MP, military police officer. And his likeness is that of GI.JOE project manager from 82 to 84. And then later on, the head of sales and marketing, Kirk Bazigian. And there it is there in focus. You can see he's a instrumental guy in bringing G.I. Joe back to Hasbro in 1982. And if you watch The Toys That Made Us, that's on Netflix, or log on to 3djoes.com, he's in all kinds of interviews. Interviews with Larry Hama and some of the other G.I. Joe celebs that I always talk about. And he's a great guy who had a vision for the brand, they call it. But he didn't really call it that. He more had a passion for bringing G.I. Joe back to Stephen Hassenfeld, presenting it to him and then getting the okay to bring back G.I. Joe in 1982. So I think it's great that they made a likeness of him, because he's very important. And he worked with Ron Rudat to develop all the figures from 82 to 84, like very closely. And then, of course, Larry Hama would do all the backstories for all of them, and helped out with artwork and stuff too. And it gave them a personality. Every character had a personality, so those three worked really closely and to make G.I. Joe what it is, really. So just really cool that he had a likeness. And lastly, maybe we've actually saved the best one for last, is a character made in the likeness of Larry Hama, who is obviously, everybody knows, super instrumental in bringing back G.I. Joe in 1982, and giving backstories to all the characters to convey all kinds of messages and interesting information pieces for each character on their file cards. And just really made G.I. Joe feel as much as it did have sci-fi elements, also very believable, and to bring it to life. So Larry, of course, was a Vietnam War vet who served from 1969 to 1971 in the United States Army. His unit was the 18th Engineer Brigade, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And as a firearms and explosive ordnance expert, he served the country. And he was also a tunnel rat, which is back then was an unofficial specialty for volunteer combat engineers and infantrymen. What they would do is they would clear and destroy enemy tunnel complexes. So kind of hence his likeness for the tunnel rat character in 1987. And he got a head sculpt for this one as well. And his specialty is EOD, which is what Larry did too in the war. So hopefully we can get a good close-up of his head without going out of focus. But yeah, there's Tunnel Rat there. He was one of my favorite characters in 1987. I had no idea that he was made in Larry Hama's likeness. A lot of this stuff didn't come out until later. And because it was a toy company, they didn't really think that anybody would really ever know about this stuff, probably, or care about it. But of course, now there's all kinds of fans that want to know all this little tidbits of information and actually get excited about it, like me. So, but anyway, yeah, he was a great character, and just made in a great likeness of a really awesome guy. And yeah, Larry stayed on pretty much all the way to 1994 until the Hasbro, or not Hasbro, the Marvel comic was canceled. And of course, he took it upon himself to bring it back with IDW in 2010, I believe, with issue 155 and a half, because it ended on 155. So, and now we're at 278 with the one I got a couple days ago. So I'm pretty happy about that he still writes the book. And to me, if it's not Larry Hama, it's not really G.I. Joe, because I've noticed that anything else written by anybody else, it just doesn't have the same feel or the same sense of humor or the kind of realism or the blue collar approach. It's more kind of like written in a darker darker light than Larry would have. Like some of the other authors that got the license, Devil's Due and other ones, what have you. It just doesn't feel like G.I. Joe to me. Flip the card back around, and this file card reads as follows. Codename Tunnel Rat, EOD. File name, Nicky Lee. Primary military specialty, EOD. Explosive Ordnance Disposal. Secondary military specialty, Combat Engineer. Birthplace, Brooklyn, New York. Grade E5. Tunnel Rat's family tree is Trinidadian Chinese, with branches of Irish, Spanish, and Indian thrown in. He grew up mean on the streets of Brooklyn, got tough on the Ranger course of Fort Benning, and honed his skills in Grenada. He's a qualified expert with all NATO small arms and is familiar with most Warsaw-Pact explosive devices. Tunnel Rat believes that anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. His feeling about crawling into an enemy tunnel with a knife in one hand, a pistol in the other, and a flashlight in his mouth is simple. He can shoot straighter, bites harder, and run faster than anything he's ever encountered in a tunnel. So why worry? So that's a file card he wrote for his own likeness, a head sculpt. And it's pretty interesting. And yeah, here's his character here in the Bellamo book. And it reads that this figure was a really hot sell back then in '87, and I believe it because I remember everybody wanted it just because it looked so cool, like very military orientated, and a lot of kids wanted the camo stuff and maybe a little bit more realistic military stuff. And it reads here that he was in the comic, and his real only appearance in Sunbow was the '87 movie, which I guess we can kind of, on a funny note, end this video on. In '87, G.I. Joe movie was released, and it was supposed to be in the theaters, but it turns out because Transformers did so bad, Transformers the movie did so bad in the theaters just before that, because Optimus Prime died and all the parents were upset about that. They actually didn't let G.I. Joe the movie go to the theater, and but it's probably a good thing it didn't, because a lot of people kind of don't like that movie, and G.I. Joe went a little bit sci-fi there with the bad guys and changed some things. So on a funny note, we'll just kind of end this video, and it's not a review about Cobra Law or how Cobra changed. It's not a review about that, because Cobra, shortly after that movie, and those characters were all ditched because Hasbro knew that they weren't very good. Cobra got back to being Cobra again. So it's not like that was the end of G.I. Joe, really. But it symbolized the end in the '90s with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and some different things that were going on there. It did spell the end of G.I. Joe. So, but yeah, back to this movie. Larry Hama didn't like Cobra Law. Kurt Bazigian didn't like Cobra Law. Ron Rudat didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. And so it was more kind of, they were forced to do it as an interview in 3D Joe's with Kirk. He talks about that. And Larry refused to have those characters in the comic, and he didn't eliminate Cobra Commander. He had a sub-story for the comic where a Fred series, Crimson Guardsman, kills Cobra Commander, and then pretends to be Cobra Commander with this new battle armor. But then Cobra Commander comes back later. And I prefer to look at that as being what happened in the G.I. Joe universe that time, instead of G.I. Joe the movie, 1987. So a lot of fans would agree with me on that one. Anyway, I don't want to get into all that stuff. We'll just end on a funny note here. Maybe just talking about these guys. They're in the back there, around '87. And his two buddies. The guy in the middle is a guy with a big tail, and his two buddies. But anyway, me and Shane actually did a video with HCC 788, who's a really nice guy, and I'll include that on this video because it's kind of funny. So anyway, we'll end it on that. Okay, guys, talk later. Bye.
And it shows. Galogulus has a big snake tail. It bends, but not enough to be useful. It looks silly at best and obscene at worst. The sculpting on the upper half of the figure is actually fine. It matches the description on the file card. It is ugly and monstrous. There's no getting past the tail. Cobra Law was the end of G.I. Joe for me as a child. Despite this, I'm trying to be fair. My old review was criticized as being unfair. Well, here you go. I've looked at all the details, all the accessories, all the merits and flaws. I still think they're terrible. They are a festering boil on a baboon's backside. They are a foul-smelling discharge from a donkey's afterbirth. They are the action figure equivalent of vomiting on an empty stomach. They are week-old garbage burning on a hot plate. They are not very good. My opinion has not changed. I don't like them any more now than I did the first time around. But my opinion is not the only one out there. That's why I invited everyone to share their views on Cobra Law. I wanted to hear from you, especially if you liked the toys. If you don't like my opinion, perhaps you will prefer the opinions of your fellow G.I. Joe fans.
Hi, I'm I'm Dave, and this is
Shane.
from Ontario, Canada. And HCC has asked everybody if we like Cobra Law. No, why?
Well, they turned Cobra Commander into a snake.
Yeah, and before that, GI.JOE was all this awesome stuff.